Hey there, warriors! Welcome back to another episode of Empowerment in Illness. I'm Gwen, your host. And today, we're tackling a topic that hits close to home for so many of us: fatigue and energy management. Now, if you've ever felt like your battery only charges to 50% even after a solid 8 hours of sleep, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Chronic fatigue is a beast, and managing energy when you're living with a chronic illness is like juggling a dozen glass balls. Just when you think you've got all of them in the air, another one comes flying in and you're scrambling to keep everything from crashing down. So let's talk about how to make that juggling act a little more manageable and maybe even enjoyable. Now, we touched on fatigue before, but today we'll break down the basics of fatigue, the emotional side of dealing with low energy, and my favorite part, practical tips for managing your energy like a pro. So go grab your favorite snack, get comfy, and let's jump right in. Alright, so let's start with a quick breakdown of what causes chronic fatigue, because understanding what's happening can make it easier to handle. If you have an autoimmune disease or chronic condition, fatigue often comes as part of the package deal. First off, you remember our friend and foe, cytokine, from the previous episodes, right? Your immune system is in overdrive. It's like when you accidentally leave your phone running a million apps in the background. Even when it's just sitting there, it's still draining battery, and before you know it, you're down to 10%. For us, that background activity is inflammation. Our bodies are constantly using energy to fight against themselves, even when we're doing nothing but watching TV or sleeping. And let's talk about medication, steroids, immunosuppressants, you name it. They're like the party guest that sticks around long after everyone else has left. Sure, they help, but they also have side effects that can zap our energy level. Some of them interfere with sleep, some make us feel foggy, and some just leave us feeling drained in ways we can't even explain. Then there's stress. Chronic illness is a full-time job, and stress is like the pesky coworker who keeps showing up uninvited. When you're constantly worrying about your health, managing doctor's appointments, or explaining your symptoms to friends and family, it drains you mentally and emotionally. And yes, that takes a toll on your physical energy too. Fatigue isn't just physical, it messes with your head too. You start feeling guilty, frustrated, and maybe even a little hopeless. Let's be real, it's hard when you want to be productive or even socialize, but you just can't because you're exhausted. Suddenly, canceling plans feels like the norm, and that guilt creeps in and whispers, "You're letting people down." Let's address this head on. Fatigue is not laziness. It's not a lack of motivation or effort. It's not something that you just push through. I'll say it louder for the folks in the back. It's not that we don't want to do things. It's that our bodies are genuinely incapable of keeping up. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for other people to understand. They say, "Oh, I get tired too." And you're thinking, yeah, but can you actually feel the weight of your eyelids when you're that tired? There's this invisible battle happening in our bodies, and it's draining all of our energy. That's why something as simple as doing laundry or cooking dinner can feel like running a marathon. It's not about willpower. It's about managing the limited energy that we have and trying to get through the day without completely crashing. And here's another tricky part about fatigue and autoimmune conditions. It's unpredictable. Some days you may wake up feeling okay with a bit more energy, and then the next day you're completely wiped out. It's like being on a roller coaster that you didn't sign up for and have no control over. This unpredictability makes it hard to plan your life or even explain to others why some days you can do things and other days you can't. This leads to what we call the spoon theory. You may have heard of it. It's a way of explaining how people with chronic illnesses have a limited amount of energy or spoons to get through the day. Every task, no matter how small, costs a spoon. Once you run out, you're done. And the thing is, you don't get the same number of spoons every day. Some days you may have 10 spoons. Other days you may have 2. So, managing fatigue is also about learning how to use those spoons wisely. And then there's the isolation. Fatigue makes it hard to be spontaneous. You can't just say, sure, let's go for a walk, because you know you'll pay for it for days. So you find yourself declining invites, and after a while, people stop asking. It can feel lonely, even if you have supportive family and friends. The emotional side of fatigue can really pull you into this cycle of guilt, loneliness, and sometimes even anger. But here's the thing. It's okay to feel these things. It's natural. You're human, and you're doing the best you can. This brings me to something really important, managing expectations. It's hard enough dealing with fatigue, but when you add the expectation of others, whether it's work, family, or friends, it can be overwhelming. And let's be honest, we're often our harshest critics. We set these high expectations for ourselves, expecting to perform at high levels we did before we were diagnosed. And when we can't, we get frustrated or feel like we're not enough. But the reality is, our energy levels are different now, and that's okay. It's about adjusting this new normal and finding ways to manage your energy so you don't burn out. It's also about communicating with the people in your life, letting them know that your fatigue isn't something you can control, and that you might need to adjust plans or take more breaks. This isn't about making excuses. It's about taking care of yourself. Alright, let's move on to the part you've been waiting for. Energy management tips. It's all about finding hacks and adjustments that can make your life a little easier. You know, little things that you can do so you don't feel like a walking zombie 24/7. Let's try pacing and prioritization. Think of your energy like a cell phone battery. If you have 30% left, are you really going to stream a movie, scroll through social media, and FaceTime your friend all at once? Probably not. You prioritize. The same goes for daily tasks. Make a list and decide what's essential. Laundry might be important, but maybe vacuuming can wait. Or better yet, let someone else do it. Remember, there's no shame in asking for help. And how about the 20-30 minute rule? Here's a fun one. Instead of doing tasks until you're completely wiped out, set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes. Work on one thing during that time and then take a break. Even if you feel like you can keep going, stop. I promise, you'll feel better conserving energy this way. Plus, those short breaks add up and help you recharge without depleting your reserves. We can also create an energy budget. Think of your energy like you would a budget. You've got a limited amount of spoons, as the spoon theory goes. So you've got to decide how to spend them. If you're planning a busy day, you may need to skip some things or rearrange your schedule. For example, if you know you've got a social event in the evening, maybe take it easy during the day. Plan your downtime, because that recharge time is just as important as the activities themselves. We can also use energy-saving gadgets, from robotic vacuums to grabber tools. Don't be afraid to invest in things that make life easier. If you don't have energy to cook, use a slow cooker or an instant pot to save yourself the hassle. The goal here is to save your energy for things you actually enjoy or need to do, not on tasks that can be automated. And we need to set boundaries with ourselves and others. This one is big. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Remember, If someone doesn't understand why you can't commit to something, that's a reflection on them, not you. Set boundaries around your time and energy. For example, if someone asks you to help out with a project, but you know it'll drain you, say something like, "I'd love to, but I need to conserve my energy right now." Setting boundaries is one of the most important, empowering things you can do. Let's talk about the concept of acceptance. Now, I'm not saying we should give up and let fatigue rule our lives, but there's a lot of peace that comes with accepting that this is where we are right now. It's about being kind to yourself and reframing how you think about fatigue. Instead of viewing it as an obstacle, what if we saw it as a reminder to slow down, to prioritize what truly matters, and to let go of what doesn't serve us? Acceptance doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing to work with your body instead of fighting against it. When you're able to let go of the shoulds, like "I should be able to do this" or "I should have more energy," you start to feel free from the constant guilt. You're doing the best you can with what you got, and that's more than enough. Think about it this way. We're conditioned to see productivity as our main goal. But life isn't just about checking off to-do lists. It's about connection, about laughter, about taking time to enjoy little moments. Maybe on these days when fatigue hits hardest, that's your body's way of telling you to focus on the simpler things. Watching a movie, reading a book, or just sitting outside and breathing. Learning to relax is crucial. Deep breathing, meditation, or even just sitting quietly for 5 minutes can recharge your mental batteries. Sometimes it's about calming your mind when your body feels like it's dragging. Pay attention to your thoughts when you feel the urge to push yourself too hard. Ask yourself, am I doing this because it's necessary or because I feel like I should be doing more? It's okay to not get everything done in one day. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, not even yourself. Food is fuel, and some diets can help manage inflammation, which in turn can reduce fatigue. Keep hydrated too. It's surprising how much fatigue can be related to dehydration. I know it sounds counterintuitive to exercise when you're already tired, but gentle moves like yoga, stretching, or short walks can actually help with fatigue. It keeps your muscles active without draining all your energy. The trick is to avoid high-intensity workout that might leave you even more exhausted. Before we leave, I would like to close with a special portion of the show I call Healing Heartbeats. This is where we allow ourselves to wallow in sorrow. Give yourself 3 minutes to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or just sit in silence. Whatever you need to do to feel it, do it. Let the depression in for only 3 minutes. Once you've reached 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and get back to living. This is a rinse and repeat behavior. You cannot let depression take over, because when it does, it will not let go. When someone passes away, they have the day they were born and the day they passed away. There's a dash in the middle. It's not a long line. It is a short dash. That dash represents your life. Go live in spite of having a chronic illness. Don't let your condition stop you. As we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. You're the expert on your body. Pay attention to your energy patterns and learn to work with them, not against them. It's a constant learning process, but even small changes can make a difference. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to prioritize your well-being. You're here, you're listening, and that means you're committed to finding ways to live the best life you can with the energy you have. That's amazing. And it takes strength that most people don't realize. If you take nothing else from this episode, remember to be patient with yourself. Managing fatigue is a journey, and some days will be better than others. Keep experimenting with different strategies and find what works best for you. Celebrate the small wins, even if they seem tiny. Thank you for spending this time with me today. You are not defined by your fatigue, and together we will find ways to empower ourselves through it. I hope you found some helpful tips and maybe even a bit of encouragement. And remember, you are never alone in this journey. If you have tips or stories you want to share, reach out. I love hearing from all of you and continuing the conversation beyond the podcast. Until next time, take care of yourself and be kind to your body. Remember, you have the strength, the heart, and the support to continue your journey. Be safe.